Dating used to be straightforward. You'd meet someone, strike up a conversation, and see where things went. There was a rhythm to it, face-to-face interactions, genuine connections, and the occasional butterflies. But now? Now it's all about the swipe. Swipe left, swipe right, match, chat, ghost. One moment you're excited about a new match, and the next you're left on red, wondering what went wrong. It's a whirlwind of emotions, filled with excitement, hope, disappointment, and confusion. But is this new way of dating really that bad? After all, it's got us all asking, can you really find true love in a sea of profiles? Or have we turned something beautiful into just another app on our phones? In today's video, we are going to explore how the shift from face-to-face connections to swiping on dating apps has transformed the dating landscape and what it means for finding genuine love in a digital world. Let's get started. Easy access, hard choices. When dating apps like Tinder and Bumble first hit the scene, they were nothing short of revolutionary. Suddenly you had access to a massive pool of potential matches, all from the comfort of your phone. But with this easy access came a whole new set of challenges that many of us didn't see coming. The simplicity of swiping left or right taps into something deeply rooted in our brains. It's that thrill of the new, the possibility that the perfect match is just one swipe away. The dopamine hit we get every time we match with someone new is similar to the rush you feel when you're unwrapping a gift. What's inside could be amazing, or it could be a letdown. But that moment of anticipation keeps you hooked. On the flip side, though, this endless swiping can be pretty draining. You're constantly bombarded with options, which might sound great, but it often leads to what's known as choice overload. With so many profiles to choose from, making a decision becomes overwhelming. You start to wonder if there's always someone better just around the corner, leading to a kind of paralysis where you keep swiping but never actually commit to anyone. It's like standing in the cereal aisle at the grocery store, where there are so many options that you end up walking away empty-handed. And let's not forget the toll this takes on our mental health. The constant rejection, whether it's being ghosted after a promising chat or not getting any matches at all, can start to wear on you. Over time, this can lead to feelings of inadequacy and even depression. You might start to question your own worth, wondering why you're not getting the matches you expected. The superficial nature of these apps, where decisions are made based on a few photos and a short bio, doesn't help either. It reduces people to commodities, making it easier to dehumanize the process of finding love. We'll cover this in detail a bit later. The disconnect between men and women. The key issue that's driving a wedge between men and women in today's dating world is actually the disconnect in expectations and desires. The world has changed, and so have the roles and expectations that men and women bring into relationships. But not everyone is on the same page, and that's causing some serious friction. A lot of women today are often juggling high expectations, both from society and from themselves. As they achieve more in their careers and personal lives, the bar for what they want in a partner tends to rise. However, this can sometimes lead to unrealistic standards, where women might feel that they need a partner who matches them in every aspect, or they won't be satisfied. They're not just looking for a guy who's tall, dark, and handsome anymore. Instead, they want someone who respects their independence, values their career ambitions, and can keep up with their evolving roles. The reality, however, no one is perfect. You've got to understand that expecting a partner to tick every single box can set you up for disappointment. Also, many men are still catching up with the evolving gender roles. They are holding on to outdated notions of relationships where they expect to take on the traditional provider role. Yet, they are feeling the pressure of the new expectations, sometimes struggling to reconcile them with their own desires and identities. They might feel like they're expected to be supportive and progressive while still holding on to those traits of strength that have been drilled into them for generations. It's an act that not everyone is managing well, leading to misunderstandings and unmet expectations on both sides. What's more, the rise of dating apps and social media has only widened this gap. Men and women often have very different experiences on these platforms. For instance, men might feel that they're competing in a marketplace that emphasizes superficial qualities, like looks and status, more than deeper connections. Meanwhile, women are often bombarded with attention that can range from flattering to downright overwhelming, making it harder to find genuine connections. But guess what? This disconnect isn't just about gender roles, it's also about communication styles. When the differences aren't acknowledged or addressed, it can lead to frustration and resentment, unrealistic expectations, and the Instagram effect. And even if that wasn't enough, here's something else that's also really messing with our heads when it comes to dating. Unrealistic expectations, fueled by social media, especially Instagram. We're all guilty of scrolling through those perfectly curated profiles where everyone seems to be living their best life. You know the ones: beach vacations, flawless selfies, and picture-perfect relationships. It's hard not to compare your own life to these snapshots, even though deep down, we know they're heavily filtered and often far from reality. But constantly comparing ourselves to these idealized images can seriously mess with our self-esteem and, by extension, our relationships. When you see these so-called perfect couples online, it's easy to start feeling like your own relationship is lacking. Maybe you're not going on fancy vacations, or your selfies together don't look as glamorous. It can make you start questioning things that don't need questioning, simply because what you're seeing online sets an impossibly high standard. Research has shown that the more time we spend on social media, the more likely we are to feel dissatisfied with our own lives and relationships. This is because social media is essentially a highlight reel. It's not showing the arguments, the awkward silences, or the mundane everyday moments. Even more alarming is the fact that these images on Instagram aren't just affecting how we see ourselves, they're also shaping what we think we should be looking for in a partner. We start to prioritize only the qualities celebrated online. This can make us overlook more important traits like kindness and compatibility. You see now? We've got all these tools to connect, but somehow it's made things more complicated. Modern dating is a roller coaster, thrilling, terrifying, and totally confusing. It's easy and only natural to feel lost. The good news? Genuine connections still exist. To find them, however, we need to cut through the noise and focus on what truly matters. And this shift starts with prioritizing authenticity. First off, let's talk about why authenticity matters so much in relationships. Authenticity is all about being true to yourself, showing who you really are, flaws and all. In the world of dating, where people often put their best foot forward, this can be surprisingly hard to do. We've all been there, right? You're on a date or chatting with someone new, and you feel this pressure to present a version of yourself that's a little more polished, a little more perfect. But when you're not being authentic, you're not really giving the other person a chance to connect with the real you. And that's where problems start to creep in. Research shows that people who are more authentic in their dating lives tend to have better long-term relationship outcomes. It makes sense, right? If you're genuine from the start, you're more likely to attract someone who truly appreciates you for who you are, rather than for some image you're trying to maintain. And just to make it clear, authenticity in dating isn't just about being open and honest with your partner. It also involves being comfortable in your own skin and having the courage to show that to others. Now, let's consider the role of modern technology in this struggle. Dating apps and social media platforms have made it easier than ever to present a carefully curated version of yourself. Filters, selective photo choices, and crafted bios all contribute to a persona that might be appealing, but isn't always genuine. While this might help you get more matches or likes, it sets a tricky precedent for real-life interactions. When the person you're dating finally meets the real you, there can be a disconnect, a realization that the image they were attracted to isn't quite the reality. So, if you're finding modern dating frustrating, it might be worth considering how authentic you're being in your interactions. Are you showing up as your true self, or are you hiding behind a persona? It's scary, no doubt, but at the end of the day, authenticity is the foundation of any lasting relationship. It's what allows you to build a connection that's based on trust, mutual respect, and genuine understanding. And really, isn't that what we're all looking for? Redefining vulnerability in relationships. For a long time, the idea of being vulnerable in a relationship, especially for men, was seen as a sign of weakness. Society has conditioned men to be stoic, to avoid showing their emotions, and to always have it all together. But as dating evolves, so too does our understanding of where true strength actually comes from. Vulnerability. Well, think about it. In the world of online dating, where first impressions are often made through profiles and photos, being vulnerable might seem like a disadvantage. But here's why it's actually your greatest strength. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you're essentially letting someone else see the real you, with all your flaws and imperfections. This level of openness is what fosters true intimacy. It's what allows two people to connect on a deeper level, beyond just surface interactions. And this isn't just some random feel-good advice I Googled yesterday. Research actually supports the idea. Studies have shown that couples who are open and vulnerable with each other tend to have stronger, more resilient relationships. They're better at resolving conflicts and are generally more satisfied with their relationships. However, being vulnerable isn't about oversharing or being emotional all the time. It's about finding that balance where you can be open without losing your sense of self. This is where a lot of people get it wrong. They think being vulnerable means they have to lay everything on the table all the time. But that's not the case. True vulnerability is about sharing what matters, being honest about your feelings, and allowing your partner to do the same. It's a two-way street, and it requires trust and mutual respect. For women, recognizing vulnerability in a partner as a strength rather than a flaw is equally important. Often, women may misinterpret a man's emotional openness as a lack of strength, when in reality, it's the opposite. In the context of modern dating, where options seem endless and connections often feel fleeting, vulnerability is what can set a relationship apart. It's what turns a potential match into a soulmate. So, how do you start being more vulnerable in your relationship? It begins with small steps. Start by sharing something personal, something you wouldn't normally share. It could be a fear, a dream, or an insecurity. Notice how your partner responds and build from there. So, where does all this leave us? Modern dating is definitely not what it used to be, and it's got its challenges. But it's also full of possibilities. Whether you're swiping on apps, meeting people through niche platforms, or just trying to be more authentic, the key is to stay true to yourself. The world of dating will keep evolving, but the goal remains the same: finding that one person who makes it all worth it. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Also, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more insights and tips. Keep scrolling, but wisely, and I'll see you in my next video.